Hello, Albsterz. Today we are going to be reacting to Zach Raw, or better known as Asmongold in the community, and his review on Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. As it's been a month since he has started playing Final Fantasy XIV and finally completed A Realm Reborn, we're going to see what his thoughts and review is for A Realm Reborn. I've not done my review personally either, so it'd be quite awesome to see his thoughts.
What's up, boys? About a month ago, I started playing Final Fantasy XIV, and a few days ago, I finished A Realm Reborn. Today, I want to give you a review of that experience. I went through the whole story. I went through all of the post-A Realm Reborn content. I did all of the raids, including all of the ones on Extreme with minimum item level and no echo in order to have as much of an authentic experience as possible.
It's been really awesome to see him do all this stuff on minimum level and no echo as well, and just watching him just slap everything up. I know people have been saying that he has people with diamond clears and stuff like that, but surely you must still be able to, you have to pull your weight even doing it on stuff like that, especially him being a tank. If he messes up, then yeah, the other tank's still got to recover, but it's really awesome to see.
Did not do Savage Coils yet, however, and I have had a very good time. I think that I've actually really enjoyed myself. And before I get into, just in general, why I feel that way, I want to explain kind of what I went into it with the perspective of. Because going into Final Fantasy XIV, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, I had a million people telling me, oh, you should play this class, you should play on this server, you should play this way, you should keybind this way, you should play in
you
this,
should boost this,
with
do
this
that.
action bar, you should play with this add-on, you should play with a boost, you should not boost, etc., right? I had a million voices in my head, and well, a million more voices in my head. And I just was going insane having these people try to tell me exactly how to play a video game. And at a certain point, I just told myself, well, listen, I'm going to play it the way I want to play it. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And I heard a lot about the story of Final Fantasy XIV, and I felt to myself that this is a game that is primarily driven by that story, by that narrative process.
It is indeed. You have to go through the story. It's a mandatory thing that you got to go through. And it's a JRPG before an MMO as well. It's just, oh, it's so awesome that he did go in with this mindset and not like some other streamers and stuff like that. Really went in with an open mind and thought, okay, I will give this a good crack. And then I can be able to give my reviews, because he said if he boosts and stuff like that, no one's going to take him seriously because he boosted. Everyone will be like, oh, you boosted. So the fact that he's done this is just so awesome to see.
And that's really what I want to focus on. So I played a lot of the game, primarily as a single-player game. I went through the quests, I read everything involved, and the ironic thing is that if I wasn't streaming it, I would not have done that. And I feel like I've had a better experience because I did stream it, which is usually not the case with streaming video games, because whenever you're playing it off stream, you'll have more time to take everything in. But the reality is, I know myself, and I wouldn't have read the stuff in the same way that I did.
Because when you stream a video game, people don't understand this watching as a viewer. Your attention is not on the video game. Your attention is to entertain and watch the chat and stuff like that, and make sure the viewers are having a good experience. The game is the second thing. You're still concentrating, you still got to concentrate with the story, because then if the chat asks you questions and stuff like that, and while you're commentating and relaying that information during the live stream, so you still got to concentrate a little bit, but it's not the main focus. The chat is always the focus for a streamer.
Whenever I saw it, and I did it on my stream and experiencing it with you guys. So I want to talk to you guys all about where those high points were, where the low points were, and just in general kind of how I felt about the whole story. Now, if you want to take a broad approach to the Final Fantasy story, I find that one thing that's very interesting about it is that there are very few characters and very few forces in Final Fantasy that are purely chaotic evil. And if you want to look at the Dungeons & Dragons alignment chart, there are very few pure evils in Dungeons & Dragons. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, it always goes back
Final
on
Fantasy,
itself.
there are actually very few of those. And oftentimes, as you learn more about the story, you'll learn that many times the evil is misunderstanding, or the the chaotic nature of something is misunderstood. And I find that to be very interesting, and I think also it lends itself to telling much better stories in terms of redemption, and also in terms of retribution, because I find that to be much less common in Final Fantasy than it is in, let's say, World of Warcraft.
And with the evil people as well, they give them like a second chance in what they're saying as well. They're kind of like, okay, we'll listen to you. You've done wrong. Now we can help you rectify that mistake that you made and stuff like that. Kind of like what Zach Rohr is saying here as well. It is really, really... The storytelling and writing for this game is incredible. They should have done the final season of Game of Thrones to make that a lot better. Like, they are doing awesome with the writing.
I've noticed that in many cases with the game that, this character that does this terrible thing is granted, they atone for their sins and they're sorry and they willingly turn themselves in. And I think that degree of redemption and that degree of kind of, I think, true moral grayness is, it lends itself to creating a more compassionate player base in a way, because I think that gives people the narrative idea inside of the story that sometimes whenever people do things that are bad, you might not necessarily understand exactly why these things are happening. And so it's kind of interesting to see how the player base is different from other MMOs.
And he did touch on that with the community a couple weeks ago as well, saying how the story has affected the community. And if you see a bad apple within the community, people are less likely to fully attack him and go for the throat. Instead, trying to get an understanding of why they're doing that, kind of like the story. That's what Zach Rohr was touching on with that. And it's really, really awesome to see. It's kind of like the story takes a... development in your mind that you don't even know and that you're aware of, and you take that into the real life.
See how some of that could be reflected from the narrative storytelling inside of the game and how that imprints onto the player base. And I think for me personally, the high points in a story, I had a few high points in a story, definitely. I thought the one thing that was so fucking cool was Garuda, right, with the song and the music and everything like that.
Yeah.
The fight itself was okay, it was fine, but I really liked the song for it and the music.
Yeah,
and
the
then
build up
later
for
on
it was
doing
incredible.
Ultimate Weapon on Extreme, I thought that was really, really cool, just because of how flashy and just absolutely dazzling it was. And in the story itself, the narrative itself, when did I really find myself attached to it, and when did I really care? I think
as soon as he met Lestola, most probably. As soon as he set his eyes on her, that was it. It was game over from there. But it's going to be interesting to see what his point in the story where he was like, okay, yeah, I'm addicted.
First time that I found it to be very interesting, and I really thought it was cool, was in the coils of Baphomet, or whatever you call them. Whenever, Alphanat, the Redditor, and his sister, Alice, they meet their grandfather, Louisoix, and they're like, well, what the fuck happened? Like, how is Baphomet still alive? I thought you killed him. And, what happened all those years ago in the Calamity? And then it just he just looks to the side, and then it fades out, and it plays a full fucking CGI cinematic of this guy literally turning into a phoenix, a primal.
Yeah.
The guy himself turns into a fucking primal, and it turns into a fucking Kamehameha bolt, pierces Baphomet's heart, fucking basically almost kills him, and then rebirths the entire world. And to see that in an actual cinematic, whenever you don't really know what happened, it's very gray, and then just find the story and realize that something that you thought was evil or whatever was actually just the most pure action that you could possibly take. I think that was just so incredible and so cool.
And the thing is, coils is optional. Coils is optional. The amount of people that have not done coil, in the comments down below, let me know if you've done coils or if you've completed Shadowbringers and then went back to do coils. You're meant to do it during a Realm Reborn at the end once you reach level 50. But the amount of people that miss it, the story is phenomenal, and it changes some of the dialogue throughout the story as well. That's something I really, really love about Final Fantasy. Is if you do certain things or go into an expansion with a certain character or a certain class, the characters recognize that and they give you additional dialogue. And if you pick up on that, it is so awesome. Like during the Heavensward expansion, because I done coils, Alice Way was talking about the coils and stuff that happened with her grandfather and gave me this big chunk of extra dialogue. And it was incredible. And like random characters come out of nowhere that you met once back in the Realm Reborn, and you're like, oh! It's like you've got to remember every person that you meet and be fully focused to the story, because you don't know who's going to turn up at a later date. And I love that about the storytelling.
And that was, in terms of like a what's the word for this? In terms of a like theatrical perspective, I think that was definitely a high point. But if you want to talk about like what really got me and what really made me feel like this story is fucking cool and this is like really special, is actually whenever you were going to the top of the fallen airship. Apparently there was like some big war and the dragons interceded in the war, and it was this like giant dragon like Midgardsormr like wrapped himself around like the main like flagship, and the flagship went down and it killed everybody on the ship, obviously, and also killed the dragon. And
the trailer for it as well was
incredible. The dragon wasn't necessarily dead. Nobody really knew what was wrong with the dragon. Nobody knew what was going on. But there was an idea that the dragon was calling to the other dragons to attack this other place. So you go up, you ascend the top of the ship, and you finally get to the top of it, and you see the dragon, and the dragon's eyes turn red, and it starts talking to you. And the dragon is supposed to be fucking dead. And now you're just having this conversation with this dragon. And what I thought was so fucking cool about that is that, especially even in a game like Final Fantasy, it becomes even harder to do this, is that you have these moments in certain stories where the storytelling takes a story that has a scope of this and it turns it into this. And it's so hard to have a moment like that and have it be as pure and as sublime as it has to be.
And regarding that scene as well, it was just like, okay, so what's his stuff behind it and like stuff like that? They leave you on like a cliffhanger and they're like, okay, so this is going to be happening at a later date. And like he said, it just opens the story even more. It just elevates it up even more than it already was. And it's just, you just got to appreciate the storytelling in this. It really is amazing.
To really have that real pure impact and that real emotional response. And I actually think that they did an incredibly great job with that. And that's where I really kind of got hooked, because I think to myself, like, where is the moment that takes the scope of what you experience, and it takes the mysticism and the mystery and the fantasy of the universe that you're part of, and it just multiplies it. And I thought of a few examples, right? I think that in terms of like a personal example for me, it was whenever I was off the coast of Westfall in World of Warcraft, and I just started swimming in a direction, and I found the Gurbashi Isle. And I thought I ran the game at level 11 or level 15 or something, and then I see these guys are level 63 elites, and I'm like, oh my god, I had no idea what I was talking about. This game is way bigger than I could ever imagined. And if you want to talk about like narratives, like where's another narrative that kind of had the same idea? I can come up with like two examples that are very good, I think, to prove my point. I think that the first example is in Lord of the Rings, whenever Gandalf comes back in the Twin Towers, excuse me, the Two Towers, and he comes back, and they thought he had died, and he just, shows himself, fucking disarms everybody else, Gandalf, or, Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas in just a split second, and he's like, I'm back, I beat the fucking Balrog.
Oh, jeez. I haven't watched Lord of the Rings in so long. I might have to go back and watch them because they are incredible. I know Amazon are bringing out a new Lord of the Rings thing. I don't know if that's going to be any good. But in terms of storytelling as well, the Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Final Fantasy are just incredible.
And this was just like, oh my god, right? Because you would have never expected this to happen. And it's like, it takes the scope of what Gandalf is, what he represents, and everything, and it just makes the world so much bigger. And you have it that occurs in, again, like this very pure and this very, in a way, straightforward and sublime way. And I think that's just what's so special about stories like this. And another example of this that I can use is the clips in Berserk. Whenever, obviously, like Griffith, this is I think that it might be obvious here, but there are going to be a lot of spoilers in this. So if you don't want any spoilers, you're probably already mad. But step away now. And
a little bit late for that. We're 9 minutes in. Spoilers halfway through. Already talking about Midgardsormr and stuff like that. I really do. Going through puberty again. I really do think a defining moment was the 2.5 ending, 2.55 ending. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, it had a better build-up than the Heavensward ending, both of the endings. The Heavensward endings were better in regards to theatricals and stuff like that and cinematics, That was incredible. It beats it out. I mean, like, the build up to the end. I really do think 2.55 really did have a nice build up to the very end. It was like this long, continuous path that you could just feel it slowly ramping, going up, and it had a nice flow to it. Heavensward endings, I don't think they had a nice flow to it. It kind of was like, okay, boom, boom, end. It wasn't like a nice build up.
And anyway, Griffith ascends to becoming a member of the God Hand, and he becomes Femto. And all the way up until then, you were just fighting, Guts was fighting and Griffith fighting the Band of the Hawk. They're fighting like different random mobs. They fought Nosferatu Zod, but it was just like some random guy. And the Eclipse, where you literally see, Void and Sloth,
I've never
and all
seen
the other
Berserk.
members of the God Hand, and they're just there. And it just fucking happens, and it completely turns everything on its head. And again, it takes a world that's like this, and it makes it like this.
And just elevates it up to another level.
I think that moment there really fucking got me. And that's something that I fucking loved it, man. And the thing is you have other stories that try to have a moment like that. But the reality is that a moment like that occurs in a way naturally. And whenever you force it, it's not real.
I was about to say it wasn't
forced. I think
forced.
the best example of a moment like that was forced is obviously whenever Sylvanas breaks apart the Helm of Domination and opens up the sky of the Shadowlands. And of course it does have that literal earth-shattering perspective to it.
That's a reference to World of Warcraft and stuff like that. But going back to Midgardsum, like he's saying, it just elevated because it... Up till that point, you was like, yeah, I'm badass, I can take on anyone, I'm the Warrior of Light, no one can get in my way. And he literally goes, no, boy, bye! It's like, no. It's like, now you gotta prove yourself worthy to me. And I'm like, what's just happened? What just happened? It just went from here to down here. So like Zach was saying, it's such a defining moment within the story as well. And I really do think one as well with Moonbreeder and stuff like that. And that little part of the story in A Realm Reborn. And even when they first attack the Waking Sands as well, that really did hit you. It was like, okay, these Scions are not safe. They really are not. And it was just, and then you had all the bodies piled up outside and it was like, oh. It hit you with that reality that no one is safe within this story. It's exactly like real life. It's not like a game where they're like, oh, it's nice, it's lovely that these characters are going to stay here forever and it's going to be nice and we can have flowers and we can go all over the rainbows. No, it's real life, bang, no one's safe. And that really adds to the whole narrative when you're playing because you're like, okay, no one is going to be with me. I'm going to have to make sure that I don't fully attach myself to these characters, and then due to the way they do with the writing, you end up getting to attach to them. And it just, it's not good.
It doesn't have that emotional, it doesn't have that emotional connection where like you are, it's like the painting where like, man touches God. And it doesn't have that divine presence to it that I think a lot of the other previous examples did. And actually, I think when all of those examples, literally a divine presence. But the point is that's the point in the story where I really, really was engaged. And I thought that was really special and really cool.
Really understand.
Other than that, I want to say the story in general, I think, was much better than what I had expected it to be. I think that especially for an MMO, I can see why so many people they're invested in the story and why so many people care about it so much. And I'm not surprised. I think that it's incredible. I think it's very well designed. And I'll be honest, there are many cases in the story where I was very angry. I was like, just fucking kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. And, I think I probably would have been right, to be honest. But, that's the way the story goes.
Yeah. You really get behind the characters and want to support them and see them get to their goal. But it's just obstacles that get in the way. I feel like with Final Fantasy now being on top and overtaking World of Warcraft and stuff like that, I really do feel like more MMOs are going to be more story focused because I think it's incredible. Like, to have a really good story for an MMO, like, MMOs are huge. And if you can tell a story within that as well, and it's a constant world that you continuously keep living in for like a decade or more, because that's how long MMOs normally would like to survive for. I think that's really, really awesome. I really feel like more MMOs should do a good story.
And it does make me very excited to see what Heavensward is going to have as well. Now, whenever you talk about like the combat itself, I think that the 2.5 second GCD, I knew, assumingly, like, this is, people said the raids were hard. Like, there's no way somebody's going to say the raids are hard whenever you can only hit one button every 2.5 seconds. So I knew that there was more to it than that.
Well, yeah, you got other things that you do on the offset. Yeah.
I think the raids in general are very well designed. They're definitely not, at least the Realm Reborn ones, and again, this is excluding Savage Coils that I have not done. The Realm Reborn fights do not have the same type of like mechanical and DPS requirements that something like Mythic Castle Nathria or Mythic Sanctum of Domination would require in World of Warcraft. But I think that it's kind of like comparing something that came out in like Wrath of the Lich King raids versus the Realm Reborn raids. And in that case, it's much more of a closer comparison. So I do really look forward to doing more of the raids, and I felt like. It's funny because as a tank, usually you just sit there and tank, right? That's about it. But we did Remua, or the Forest Lord, the Lord of Levin, and
that on minimum level. And no echo is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. There's the amount of stuff that you got to watch out for, all the AoEs and stuff like that, and the tank buster. And that's what I think Zach's going to go into momentarily, but it's just so cool.
We did him, and it was like, again, right? This is what I used to have to do as a tank. Now I have to do this. And I'll admit, there's a little bit of growing pains there. It was hard for me to do, but I'm glad that I did. And I look forward to doing more fights like that as well. I think that there's a certain degree of overcoming challenges and winning in that way.
Yeah, it gives you that serotonin and just...
is difficult, and to overcome it like that, that's fulfilling to me, that I do find fun. And
yeah, it's a try and error basis. And you constantly keep improving, keep progressing. You're like, okay, we got to 10%. Come on. And the whole raid team's like, come on, keep pushing. If it was easy, then it would be no fun. Like, if you go in, oversized party, there's no fun. You're just one-hitting all the enemies and you're just swinging your sword around like, hey, what's going on, boys? There's no fun to it. If you do it at minimum level, no echo, it's such a challenge, and you got to make sure to do your rotation. I think it really teaches you how to do your rotation and how to use your class properly.
I think that a lot of my audience enjoys it as well. So I do really enjoy the raids. I think that's probably, if I had to say, like, why do I really, really like playing the game, besides the Gold Saucer, why do I really, really like playing the game? It's because of the raids. I think that the raids are the most enjoyable thing for me. They're the most fulfilling thing for me, and they feel the best whenever we complete them and whenever I get better gear. There's
and the glam. Don't forget the glam.
Where, like, I wish that the numbers in the game displayed differently, kind of more like World of Warcraft. I feel like the truth is that Classic WoW, I think, has the best floating combat text of any game pretty much ever. And I'd love to see that, every other game from the future, from the rest of the time, just take what Classic WoW does and just do that. But overall, it's not that big of a deal. And
they could implement that, and they could implement one of the heads-up display as well. I know they're very against it and stuff like that, and the third-party use. They don't like it because it can cause toxicity and stuff like that within the community, because someone will be like, oh, well, you're this and you're only doing this. Like DPS-wise and stuff like that. I understand why they haven't got it in the game, but maybe they can take that element, like he is saying, from World of Warcraft and add it in to improve the game even further.
I do think that the less of an emphasis on damage meters in general and damage in general does allow players to focus more on the mechanics and take in the aesthetics of the fight rather than the specifics of the fight. And I think that does make for a more holistic experience. So overall,
because the raids are incredibly beautiful.
Time. I think the story has been very compelling to me, and especially now that we're entering into Heavensward, and I'm now talking to what's his name? I'm thinking of his name, Count Drippy.
Oh, the Count, the old geezer. I know the one you're on about with the stick.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Dracula.
Yeah, that's basically where we're at now in the story. I did the whole Dark Knight quest line. I think
Yeah,
that was really
you did.
fun. But it's funny for me to see that there's a lot of people that told me, oh, Realm Reborn is going to take you so long and you're going to get so bored. It's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to get bored? Like, this is literally a quest that takes me 15 minutes. Like, how am I going to get bored in 15 minutes? Like, you stupid? I did a achievement in WoW that required me to get 250,000 honorable kills. And
This man can grind. Honestly, there is nothing this man can do. Zach played New World and cut down trees for 40 hours.
in an entire day of farming, you would get maybe 1,000 or 2,000. Are you kidding me that I would get fucking bored? Not a chance. So I really enjoyed that a lot, and I think all the little side activities, like the Gold Saucer, like the Chocobo racing,
Incredible.
etc., I find those to be
just
very fun as well. And it sounds stupid, but I'm actually really excited for the jumping puzzles in the game. Apparently there's one in Stormblood or something like that.
Yep. And this is I wish Final Fantasy would add more jumping puzzles and look at Guild Wars 2 for this, because Guild Wars 2 for an MMO is the pinnacle of jumping puzzles. If they would add more jumping puzzles into Final Fantasy, I think it'd be really, really cool. I know they had the Leap of Faith one. We've done the one in Stormblood. I know there's one for the Alexandra. I know there's one. There's a couple here dotted around here or there. But there's like, in Guild Wars 2, there's really hard jumping puzzles. And they're known for being really, really hard. And they're added into the environment of the world. So I don't know if it would be really cool if Square Enix add some jumping puzzles in Endwalker, like one of the starting cities or something. There's a really hard jumping puzzle that everyone tries to attempt on the first day that the expansion launches. I think jumping puzzles really add, and you get a reward for it. You get there's a chest at the top, like you do with Guild Wars 2. Maybe they could put a chest at the top, and you get like a special mount, or even just like a special emote or something so you know people have completed that jumping puzzle. I think that'd be cool.
That I'm going to be doing. I watched Rich fail on it for many hours. So either way, I'm just having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. It's fun. I'm playing the game off stream and just trying to do what I want to do. And
there's a blast.
Miss that a lot. Again, I think I say this in all of my videos as I'm wrapping everything up here. I'm not quitting WoW. I really enjoy WoW as well. But it's been great to be able to play something different and to have a different perspective on the game. And I think that it's helped me a lot. I really appreciate everybody who's been so supportive over this past month and everything, with
incredible.
Just watching the streams and just being positive in general.
It is really, really nice to see how welcoming the Final Fantasy community have been to the World of Warcraft players. And with the veterans as well, I see this in one of the videos of one of the veterans videos. They're really wanting that new player experience, as they've not had that in years. And now playing a new MMO like Final Fantasy XIV, they're getting that new feeling again where they're in a world that they don't know and they're like, okay, I've got to learn everything that's here. And it's really awesome to see. It really, really is. And that's like the same as well. I've not left Guild Wars 2. I will be going back to that when the expansion comes out, and if there's any content that I do want to cover for it. I haven't dropped it. I'm just waiting for content to come out. So Guild Wars 2 is essentially my Final Fantasy, is my World of Warcraft to Zach.
Not only with the Final Fantasy content, but with the stuff that I did with WoW, and also the stuff that I did with New World 2. And I look forward to doing more things like that are different and more variety focused in the future. And I really appreciate you guys giving me the confidence to be able to do that. So thank you. And I also look forward to doing Heavensward and getting, apparently if you get all the birds in Heavensward, you get like this massive like golden like I don't know, like a golden Lugia pretty much. Like we're doing that one. That's gonna happen 100%. And I
get the big boy.
I'm having fun, man. It's really enjoyable for me to just go through the game in the very, very measured way that I have.
Yeah,
and
take
just
it nice
take
and slow.
Every experience one at a time and try to do everything.
And take it at your own pace. If you like to rush through the game, then rush through it. If you want to take it at your own pace and just take it nice and easy and do a Realm Reborn in 6 months or whatever, then do that if you want to do nothing but jumping puzzles. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
In the most authentic way as I can. So either way, I want to say thank you guys all so much for watching. I've really enjoyed the game, and I look forward to apparently doing the fun part of the game, because I enjoyed the post-Realm Reborn content. I thought it was completely
it's
fine.
incredible.
So if that was fun, and that was enjoyable for me, I fully expect that Heaven's Ward will be 1,000 times better. And
I really do. I'll let Zach finish off
first. I look
first.
forward to doing it myself. So that's about all I've got. I've enjoyed myself a lot, and I look forward to doing a lot more. So until next time, boys.
Hell yeah.
Peace.
Thank you, Zach, so much for that. I really do think the people that say that A Realm Reborn is crap is the people that played it when it first come out. Because if you play it recently, they've had a massive chunk taken out of it. They've shortened it right down. It's nice and slim. There's still some fatty bits on it, but it is just a nice chunk of steak that you can get into, and it's really, really good. I really, really did enjoy A Realm Reborn. Please do let me know in the comments down below what you think of A Realm Reborn yourself. And Zach, thank you for your review on Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. It's really, really nice to see your insights and thoughts on it. I need to do my review on Heaven's Sword, as I haven't done one. I didn't do one for A Realm Reborn, so that's why I wanted to do this, because it's nice to bounce back and forth with that. If you did enjoy this video, then leave a like and a comment down below. Boom, 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 boom. See you guys next all round. I'll catch you in my next video. Bye, 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 bye.